And welcome to a late night edition of Jack Knows Best. As you can see, we are already in progress with the Superflex. Sorry, my apologies. Correction from our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. It is the big board, but make it super flex. And so, as you can see from everyone so far, lots and lots of quarterbacks. I have drawn the 112, which puts me in an interesting predicament. But let's recap real quick before I get on the clock. Josh Allen, the 101. Surprising to me. Josh Allen ahead of Patrick Mahomes. I understand it. I agree with it. Just shocked that the world has come around. However, if you are playing best ball at 1 a.m. Eastern time, the best time, then maybe you're a little bit more tuned in than the general public on best ball. So, I am up here and my top options: Matthew Stafford, Matt Daddy Stafford, Derrick Henry, and Aaron Rodgers. And so, as you can clearly see by the Calvin Johnson jersey here, that this is a Matt Daddy Stafford podcast. This is a Matt Daddy Stafford show. So Matthew Stafford comes home to us. Now, with our second pick, it is a super flex. And we don't know who will be available at quarterback on the turnaround. And really, do you believe anyone here is more worthy of the pick than Aaron Rodgers? Jalen Hurts, Trey Lance, Deshaun Watson, Derek Carr, Justin Fields, and Kirk Cousins? No, none of this is even close to Aaron Rodgers. And this is why in the Superflex tournament, you take quarterbacks early. So we see Josh Allen, Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, all in the top 5 picks. And then Jonathan Taylor goes with the 106, and TLS 2249. Who are they going to have at quarterback on the way back? You're going to have Jalen Hurts as their QB1? Are we going to play the waiting game at quarterback in this economy? No. In a super flex, we are going quarterback early, and we are going quarterback often, which is why instead of taking Derrick Henry as we could have, and Jake B77, bold move here by Jake, going no QB with his first 2 picks. Derrick Henry and Cooper Kupp are absolutely elite players. But when you can have Matthew Stafford, the Super Bowl winning quarterback, when you can have Aaron Rodgers, the reigning, defending MVP of the NFL, you got to do it. And so this will be the advice that we have throughout the offseason at importantnonsense.com. When you're in a super flex, quarterback. And now, when you look at what we have with Aaron Rodgers and Matthew Stafford, now we don't have to pick a QB again until far, far later in the draft. So we have quite a way left before we are up here. Recapping the picks that have come after us: Derrick Henry, Tom Brady, Jamar Chase, and Jalen Hurts, Justin Jefferson. And so the second round of Superflex drafts can be where the true value comes, because Trey Lance, he very well could be QB1 this season. We saw it with Lamar Jackson. When you have that type of rushing ability and a coach that is willing to unleash you, it produces fantasy points. And it especially produces fantasy points when your offensive weapons are not only Deebo Samuel, the wide back, but it's also George Kittle, arguably the best tight end in football. And you also have Brandon Ayuk, who is no slouch himself either. And so Jalen Hurts over Trey Lance at this point, not doing it anymore. The 49ers have assured Trey Lance he is the starter this year. So, oh no, we don't do that. Back. All right, we are back. But Trey Lance has elite QB1 type upside. I suppose in a perfect world where the Eagles build on the offense and build on Jalen Hurts' performance last year, that's possible as well. But oh yes, QB3, my good friend Lamar Jackson, resurrection this year. Mark my words, 1,012%, which is why we scroll back too far. Lamar Jackson. Well, we got to go through my picks first. No, we got time. We got time here. Chris, Lamar Jackson 104. That's too late. Lamar Jackson after Justin Herbert in fantasy football. Chris, are you seeing that, Chris? Are you believing that? Because I don't. I don't understand that. Justin Herbert ahead of Lamar Jackson. No. Never. The rushing ability between the two, even between Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes, it is ridiculous. Oh, and it is my pick. Well, I think this is quite easy for me personally, because in the in the big board, but make it super flex, my good friend Josh Larkey, formerly of Roto Underworld, and we are all patiently awaiting to see where he goes, recommends that we go to quarterback and the bully tight end strategy, which is why we have Mark Andrews with our third round pick. And then you look at who's left. We have Alvin Kamara, we have DeAndre Swift, and we're going to pivot real quick here because Alvin Kamara is probably getting suspended. At least one game, possibly more. It's still up in the air. But with the Alvin Kamara situation, he's going to be a value in drafts. Probably suspended 1 game, maybe suspended 2, 3, up to 6. Ezekiel Elliott is the standard with 6 for his suspension a couple years ago. I don't believe that's what the NFL will do right now, given the general population has forgotten about Alvin Kamara being arrested over Pro Bowl weekend. And with all of that in mind, maybe I regret taking DeAndre Swift over Alvin Kamara. But as the host of Believe in Lions, you got to take DeAndre Swift. The role is certain. We know DeAndre Swift is set for at least 50 targets, if not 60 or 70 or 80 targets. We'll see who the quarterback is, but it doesn't matter for DeAndre Swift, because if it's Jared Goff, we know he'll check it down to DeAndre Swift. And if it's a rookie, we know rookies love to check it down to the running back. And that's without even mentioning this offensive line in Detroit, because they have one of the top offensive lines in the NFL. Truly, Detroit is one of the more underrated teams in the NFL at this point. We're going to have to talk to our friends over on the betting shows. Got to talk to Mason Cameron. Got to talk to Vishal Gupta. But I think they'll agree with me when I say we take the over. And hello, my friend Sansa, my baby kitty. We take the over on Detroit Lions wins. Anyways, back to the draft. We are still going. Trevor Lawrence in the 4th round. Great value. Matt Ryan. Very excited about Matt Ryan with the Colts, and Kyle Pitts is a steal as well. But with the Colts and Matt Ryan, I think that is going to be a sneaky value for the Colts, because it's a net positive. They traded a 3rd round pick, and that can become a 2nd for Matt Ryan, for Carson Wentz to get rid of him. And they traded a 3rd round pick for a better quarterback in Matt Ryan. By all reports, and this is all allegedly, we don't want to throw shade at any billionaires out here, but by all reports, it's alleged that the Colts owner, Jim Irsay, who, might I add, is one of the most patient owners in the NFL. He just couldn't do the Carson Wentz experience anymore. Can't do it. Won't do it. We're done. So they packed him up. They sent him to Washington. And Washington believes Carson Wentz is the guy. Heard that one before. We'll see. But at least they believe in Carson Wentz. I still think Matt Ryan was the better decision. And it's truly the redux of Phillip Rivers in Indianapolis with a better quarterback and more years ahead. Because, sorry, anyone who's a big Phillip Rivers fan, but Matt Ryan is just plain and simple better. And always has been. And always was. So, 512, 601. Don't need a quarterback. Oh, we've got our eyes here. on a couple of running backs in Saquon Barkley. Oh, damn it. Brees Hall and Saquon Barkley back to back. Don't love that in the slightest. Would have loved to pair both of those backs, in all honesty, with DeAndre Swift. And that's another thing that our friend Josh Larkey has taught me personally. And you can find all of his information at J Larkey Tweets. Who gotta make a decision here. So, well, there's one, there's two. All right. So, what at J Larkey Tweets has taught me from his podcast is rookie running backs are very underrated in drafts because rookie running backs have some of the highest payouts, for lack of a better word, higher risk reward. It's disproportionate risk reward when it comes to rookie running backs because you get a Brees Hall in the 5th round. Maybe he's your RB. Well, it's the super flex league. So he's your RB2, let's say, Brees Hall. Brees Hall, if he goes round 1, you know he's going to end up being drafted in the 3rd round of even super flex. And when it comes to regular drafts, Brees Hall will be an easy 2nd round pick. Even if he goes in the 2nd round, Brees Hall is very likely to return supreme value. Now for my picks, we go with Cam Akers because we don't need a quarterback. We don't need Mac Jones or Jameis Winston. We can always use a bell cow running back, such as Cam Akers. In one moment here. Cam Akers returned from an Achilles tear and became a bell cow again. Sure, Sony Michel got his touches. Sure, he was inefficient, but the fact that the Rams were that desperate to use Cam Akers coming off an Achilles tear shows how much they value his skill set. Cam Akers is truly a 3-down back. And oh, goodness. And he's just not being treated that way in the slightest. He's being drafted in the area of James Conner, a goal line back, to be generous, and David Montgomery, who, fair enough to be in that same area, but Cam Akers is a better receiver than David Montgomery. He's a better runner and receiver than James Conner. The upside is truly unlimited with Cam Akers at this point. DK Metcalf is a bit more of a risk given the quarterback situation. But if you watched Courtland Sutton play with Drew Lock, he got in his vicinity just enough that he was still productive. And I don't believe Drew Lock will be the day 1 starter. I think the Seahawks are going to draft someone to replace Drew Lock. But even if they don't, DK Metcalf is an absolute alpha in the passing game. And we saw it with Geno Smith. We saw it. He can be productive no matter his quarterback. So DK Metcalf, 6th round in a super flex, absolute value. Now we're coming up on the 712, the 801. Oh, quality option. Oh, duh. Travis Etienne would have been my pick there. As would have Ezekiel Elliott. So that's lovely. All right. We have some thoughts in mind here. Remember, we have Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, DeAndre Swift, Cam Akers, DK Metcalf, and Mark Andrews thus far. And Carson Wentz is off the board, which leaves us with the stack I wanted to make. Oh, yes, the stack I wanted to make. Because you see, this is a super flex. So quarterback is always valuable. And because quarterback in fantasy football, their boom weeks beat out everyone. So Jared Goff, QB3, don't have to worry about the position at all anymore. And more importantly, we get to stack Jared Goff with his wide receiver 1 in Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I can't wait until the Lions play on Monday Night Football so we can announce a Monday Night Raw St. Brown. Stacking Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown. You know that ARSB is going to be peppered with targets from a quarterback in Jared Goff who likes to see it open before he throws. And good thing, and as a slot receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown is open. We saw it in LA. Brandon Cooks, he's the deep threat. He's the one streaking down the sideline. But that's a feel throw. You got to trust your receiver to make that throw. And a lot of the time, Jared Goff didn't. He would take the easier throw over the middle in Cooper Kupp and in Robert Woods. And that is DJ Chark versus Amon-Ra St. Brown. You have DJ Chark streaking down the sideline. You have him as the clasher on the outside. And you have Amon-Ra St. Brown going over the middle, a two-way go out of the slot. He's going to be Goff's wide receiver 1. He's Goff's new Cooper Kupp. And that's why we love this stack of the Detroit Lions in Jared Goff, in DeAndre Swift, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Because in best ball, you don't have to start your players. I know that's basic rules, but when Jared Goff has a good week, there's a good chance that's because he was throwing to Amon-Ra St. Brown and DJ Chark and TJ Hawkinson. But he can have a good week throwing to DeAndre Swift. And Jared Goff can also have a bad week. And DeAndre Swift still succeed as the goal line back, rushing for multiple touchdowns. So it's a double win having DeAndre Swift. You get the positive correlation in the receiving game, but you also get the negative correlation as a rusher, which is something we want in this tournament. We are betting on the Detroit Lions offense. And with our next pick, see, this is where things, I know who I've got my eyes on, and so I will keep it to myself for just a moment here while we think about who we would like. Several players off the board, none of them who we were hoping for. Let's wait and see if our guy, the rookie, as we said, rookies are consistently undervalued in drafts at this point. Not only at this point, but even after the draft. Kenneth Walker, depends on where they go, but rookies always have a disproportionate cost benefit. There is a lot more reward in store for a rookie, such as Kenneth Walker, such as Breece Hall, compared to the downside that they have. Because we know these players are going on day 2 at worst. Realistically, both Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall will be going in the second round of the NFL draft, especially after both ran a sub 4.4. Thank goodness for the timeout by Jake B. That means we will get the perfect RB3 in Kenneth Walker. Now, what do we do with our next pick? Because we're set at quarterback. We don't really need a running back here because we've got our top 3. Remember, in best ball, even in the super flex, 2 running backs plus a flex is probably a quarterback. It's probably only starting 3 running backs, probably only starting 1 tight end, probably only starting 2 receivers. Who's our third receiver then? Because DK Metcalf, he's probably going to be starting most weeks. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he'll start most weeks. But we'll pair them with Adam Thielen. Because he's gone from overrated, in my personal opinion, to severely underrated with the Minnesota Vikings. I don't think people have truly accepted that Kirk Cousins is back in Minnesota. And I don't think people have truly accepted that Adam Thielen is still very much alive. He's getting older, but he continues to score touchdowns at an inordinate rate. And when healthy, he can still get open on just about any corner in the NFL. So we talk about the disproportionate upside of these rookies. You want to talk about disproportionate upside? Let's talk about Adam Thielen going in the 10th round in the same range as Gabriel Davis and Kadarius Toney, who were what? Not startable most of last year. Whereas Adam Thielen is giving you multiple a wide receiver 1 weeks. Yeah, I will take Adam Thielen very much in the 10th round of the Superflex draft on underdog.com. We've got quite a ways before our next pick. Looking at some of the other players. Ooh, Cordero Patterson. 10th round with Tony Pollard and Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt very well could be a value in drafts this year because I don't know if he's going to be on the Cleveland Browns. The Browns don't have a lot of money right now after trading for Deshaun Watson. They're currently on the hook for Baker Mayfield's $18 million salary. They might be forced to stick with him. So they don't have a lot of money to play with. Meanwhile, they can move on from Kareem Hunt for free. And they've proven that they trust Dearness Johnson quite a bit. So Kareem Hunt in the 10th round of a Superflex draft, very much in the value tier right now. Because if he goes to a team such as the Atlanta Falcons, a team that needs a running back, like Kansas City, he overtakes Clyde Edwards-Helaire quite easily. Kareem Hunt is a player that you should be looking at a value running back. And I say that no years. Usually, I'm the guy saying Kareem Hunt, he's in a committee. It's going to be boom bust. You don't know when to start him. Just don't draft him. I'm saying he's not going to be a Brown when all is said and done. Expect Kareem Hunt to have disproportionate upside. And we are back on the clock shortly here. We're looking at the players available. Who do we have to stack with? We don't really have any stacking options here at wide receiver. Don't have any Rams, any Packers, or any Lions. Nope, not seeing DJ Chark, but he's quite a bit down here. Not worth the reach. And so, are we going to take a wide receiver 4? Because again, I will cite Josh Larkey's work early and often because he's one of the brightest minds in the fantasy football world. And so why wouldn't I trust the research that he's done? He says that wide receiver isn't as important in these super flex drafts because you have the boom weeks from your top guys. But for the most part, even the late round picks, and we're going to go up here. Well, we love Rashad Bateman. As you know, my boss, Steve Bonham, big Rashad Bateman fan, as am I. He's the wide receiver 1 for the Baltimore Ravens, offers a great correlation with Mark Andrews. Even if we don't have Lamar Jackson, we're still betting on this Ravens offense. That's our wide receiver 4 and our tight end 2, which means we don't have to draft a tight end 3, is Pat the Fat Freiermuth. And when you think about it, when you're in a tournament, you don't want to be hedging. You want to believe that you're making the right decisions because winning a tournament such as the big board but make it super flex here on underdog.com. Promo code nonsense. You have to believe in order to win a tournament of this magnitude. A tournament with how many people do we have here? With 34,000 people in this tournament. Skill isn't enough. It's going to take a supreme amount of luck. And so, for that luck to happen, why are we hedging? Because we're already saying we're getting lucky to win this tournament. Why hedge and invest in a tight end 3? Why go for a Bob Onion, a Robert Tunyon, an Irv Smith? How does this make our lineup better when we're betting that Pat Freiermuth is going to excel without Juju Smith-Schuster as he did last season? When we're betting that Mark Andrews is still going to have a supreme connection with Lamar Jackson? And I know I've said don't hedge. We're hedging with Rashad Bateman, but that's not a true hedge. That's correlation. That's a bet on the Ravens offense being successful. We're betting that Lamar Jackson shows and continues to grow and continues to show what he did last season when healthy, that he can be a damn good passer of the football, not just the elite rusher that we've seen. And so we are in the 13th round here, coming up on the 13th, 14th round turn. Have our 4 wide receivers, have 3 running backs. We're set at quarterback. We're set at tight end, likely. This is the range where we load up on our running backs and wide receivers. DJ Chark, continue that Detroit Lions stack, absolutely, if we can. Allen Lazard can stack with Aaron Rodgers. Darrell Henderson has negative correlation with Matthew Stafford. Chris Olave and is that Jameson? Okay, well, friends, don't draft Jameson Williams. He just tore his ACL this year. He's not going to play. And if he does play, it'll be end of November, December. And I get it. It's best ball. Those weeks still count. But when you have to draft him in the 13th round ahead of Chris Olave, who will play all year, ahead of Allen Lazard, who I got sniped on, who could be the wide receiver 1 for the Packers, it just doesn't make sense. Don't do it. Do not draft Jameson Williams, period. You definitely don't draft him at cost right now, because coming off that ACL, even when he returns to the lineup, Jameson Williams won't have practiced with that quarterback. They won't have chemistry. It's best ball, so you just shoot for that upside, but not my cup of tea. We don't want to be seeking players with concerns at this point. We don't want to seek out trouble. And that's what we talked about earlier with Alvin Kamara and DeAndre Swift. We don't want players with question marks. We go with the certainty of DeAndre Swift. We go and continue to bet on the certainty that the Detroit Lions offense will thrive in 2022. And we'll go for some negative correlation between Matthew Stafford and Darrell Henderson. Oh, and we do have Cam Akers too. Oh. Well, still, it's a hedge, I suppose. That was an oversight. That's what happens when you do best ball at 1 a.m. You make mistakes, you overthink it, and you forget that now you have both Rams running backs. But it's still a bet on the Rams offense. Should have taken Kenny Golladay instead. He goes the pick after me. But to the same token, Kenny Golladay, we already have 5 wide receivers. We have... I don't have much to justify this. Heading into the end of the 14th round, we again, as always on Underdog, they have upped it to 20 rounds for every team and for every draft, which is very cool. Because last year, I found myself in the 18th round just wanting a little bit more. It just felt a little bit lacking. Because you can make the decision to draft 3 quarterbacks, even in a regular league, if you have to wait. And sometimes you had to make that decision. Sometimes you had to draft 3 tight ends in a regular league. And it often left me not able to draft one of my favorite late round running backs in Elijah Mitchell, which would have made my best ball rosters a lot more successful. But they fixed the problem now. They've given us 2 extra rounds, no matter the format. Best ball, when it comes to Superflex, it is even more important. But just in general, Underdog has made a fantastic upgrade this season. They've made a wonderful product even more glorious. So make sure you check us out at underdog.com and use the promo code nonsense when you sign up. Next pick coming up shortly, and we will be right back after we take some time to think about it. And we are back. just in time for our next two picks. Tight end. No, Gerald Everett is not on. He hasn't been on the Rams in a while, actually. He went to the Seahawks. But I continue to think that Kenny G, Kenneth Gainwell. Love that pick. Love Julio Jones. Those are the two players we are targeting here. Ooh, Christian Watson. For those of you who don't know, I am the host of the Believe in Lions podcast. Big Lions fan. Oh no, Kenny Gainwell sniped. I want to see Christian Watson in Detroit. Love the athleticism. Love what he can provide as both a downfield threat and an after the catch player. In the meantime, though, we draft Julio Jones, who becomes our wide receiver 6, and our running back 5 becomes Gus the Bus Edwards. And I am a big believer in J.K. Dobbins. And I think he's going to have a very successful rebound coming off of that ACL injury. But you never want to be too certain. Again, this is a 1 in 34,000 lineup. So, in 34,000 worlds, what happens if Gus Edwards is the goal line back? What if he's the one scoring a disproportionate amount of touchdowns? Again, this is a bet on the Ravens offense. It would be nice if we could stack them with Lamar Jackson, but Gus Edwards, Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews. This is a bet that the Baltimore Ravens, under Lamar Jackson, are going to be a very successful offense. And it's also a bet that the Detroit Lions will be very successful in 2022. We've talked about how underrated they are. We know we like the Rams as well. Van Jefferson probably going to be off the board before we are able to take him, but we'll cue him up anyways as believers in this Rams offense. Tutu Atwell, Odell Beckham is another player that we will add in. Tutu Atwell is another one that we will just scroll now. Of course, Tutu Atwell is this far down as he should be. That's a last round pick then to stack with Matthew Stafford. Van Jefferson rightfully goes before we can take him. Obviously, it's quite a bit before we're going to be up. Jerick McKinnon, unsigned. But for anyone who follows me at Javanaut87 here on Twitter, you know that I post all these depth charts, all these current lineups for teams around the league. And whenever I post Kansas City, I get lots of comments. Sorry. Before today, when Kansas City signed Ronald Jones, I got a lot of comments. Well, where's Jerick McKinnon? Why don't you have Jerick McKinnon? What? He's better than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Well, that's debatable, but also he's a free agent, so it doesn't matter anyways. Now Kansas City signs Ronald Jones for up to $5 million. Very interested in the numbers on that contract because Ronald Jones isn't particularly good. But, anyways, when it comes to Kansas City, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I expect to see a disproportionate fall, and I expect to see Ronald Jones see a disproportionate rise. And wouldn't it be funny if at the end of the day, Jerick McKinnon ended up being the answer, as Kansas City fans want him to be? So, with our next pick coming up, oh, damn it! There's Odell Beckham off the board. All right. Alrighty. 17th, 18th round, which means after this turn, you will have just 2 picks left. Tight end. Do we take a 3? Do not love the position this has put me in. Gonna go. No, well, we can't draft Tutu Atwell right here. So we're gonna go with Nico Collins. Because Nico Collins, wide receiver 1, potentially for the Houston Texans. And you know what? Are we going to draft Jerick McKinnon? We're going to draft CJ Uzomah? No, we're going to if we draft another wide receiver and we can't draft Tutu. Well, Jerick McKinnon timed out perfect. 3 quarterbacks, 6 running backs, 7 wide receivers, and 2 tight ends. As it stands, we will draft 1 more wide receiver, hopefully in Tutu Atwell. Not because we believe in him, but because we believe in this LA Rams offense. Stack him with Matthew Stafford. And then the final position, because we have 8 wide receivers. And in a super flex best ball, that cuts out the bottom tier of wide receivers. I shouldn't say bottom tier of wide receivers. The bottom tier of best ball qualifying receivers is cut out by the QB2s in the Superflex. They're far less started in your roster. And not only that, but we've gone from 3 wide receivers in a regular underdog draft to 2 wide receivers in this Superflex. So not only did we add a quarterback, but we lost. Not only did we add a super flex, which we want to be a quarterback, but we also lost a wide receiver. And so that makes these late round running backs, these potential league winners, such as Eno Benjamin, even more valuable. And for Eno Benjamin, we'll talk about him before the draft comes up. Hopefully don't get sniped here. But Eno Benjamin, when the Cardinals head coach, Cliff Kingsbury, who we believe is a grifter, is a fraud, but when he was asked ahead of free agency at the Combine about the running back room, Kingsbury talked about how, we can't sign both James Conner and Chase Edmonds. Just not enough money. But we love Eno Benjamin. Oh, he's got a great skill set. And I agree. And so, free agency comes around, and they put their money where their mouth is. They pay James Conner $7 million a year, whereas Chase Edmonds gets 6.2. So they could have saved money to keep Chase Edmonds, but I think the reason they didn't is Eno Benjamin can do a lot of the same things as Chase Edmonds. He's a receiver. He's an explosive runner. He's a perfect complement to James Conner. So why not re-sign James Conner for a little bit more and then rely on Eno Benjamin to be the third down back? So that's why we've got him here. We're going to take him as our RB7, pair him with Tutu Atwell, as we've said, our bet on the Rams offense. And we're going to be really, really mad if we see Eno Benjamin go before my pick. I'll be less mad if Tutu Atwell goes before my pick. Because really, oh, goodness. I can't draft Tutu Atwell when Braxton Berrios and Devontae Parker are still on the board. I can't do that. So, Eno, we're going to put Eno up here. Good conscience, because Braxton Berrios is being severely slept on. Because I know the Jets are going to draft a receiver. All the New York fans want the Jets to take Garrett Wilson. But Braxton Berrios was getting end arounds and carries out of the backfield. Braxton Berrios was developing a pretty surreal rapport, and perfect. Both the players that, oh, nope, never mind. I'm wrong. They're both still available in Parker and Berrios. The Jets understand how valuable Braxton Berrios is, and I don't want to compare him to Julian Edelman just because he's the white slot receiver, but I want to compare him to Julian Edelman because Julian Edelman hit free agency, and the Ravens tried to bring him in with Joe Flacco, and they failed because New England knew what they had in Julian Edelman. They paid him just enough more and made the sales pitch just enough better that he wanted to come back. And it paid off. And I think that's exactly what happened with Braxton Berrios and the Jets. I think the Jets realized, hey, this guy can get open pretty well at will on all of these defensive backs out of the slot, and perfect. We don't have to take Devontae Parker either, who I think is the best wide receiver for in the NFL at this point. It's true. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Cedric Wilson is going to be played ahead of Devontae Parker. Probably shouldn't be. But he's in this. Anyways, Eno Benjamin, Tutu Atwell. And that is going to do it for our draft. And so, to recap our team here real quick, we got our 3 quarterbacks real early in Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, and Jared Goff. We bet heavily on both the Lions offense with DeAndre Swift and Amon-Ra St. Brown and DJ Chark do. And we also bet heavily on the Rams offense with Matthew Stafford and Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson and Tutu undersized Atwell. Pair all of that with Kenneth Walker, the RB2 this year in drafts. Pair that with Gus the Bus Edwards and the underrated pass catchers in Jarek McKinnon and Eno Benjamin. And then you look at the receivers. We bet heavily on this Ravens offense with Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews and Gus Edwards. We bet that DK Metcalf is going to have a better quarterback than Drew Lock. We bet that Julio Jones is going to find a team, likely the Indianapolis Colts, likely with his former quarterback, Matt Ryan, and likely be better than he was last year. And even if he's not at value, doesn't matter. Julio Jones, take him every time you can in drafts. But that's going to do us here, or do it from us here at importantnonsense.com. Make sure you check us out. Make sure you use our promo code nonsense when you sign up over at underdog.com. But until we see you soon, we will see you next time.